Well, this is a video in response to a kind individual who had suggested that perhaps I had not seen all of the videos. So we'll start with the first one since she's right. He or she was right. I'd only seen the sixth. Um, it starts out with a CBS News special regarding a cover-up for decades at the highest level in Rome. It doesn't present the document. It doesn't even give you the name of the document, and it doesn't tell you who's going to throw the people out as it goes through this little litany. It's a highly polemic piece by CBS News, which doesn't even offer any bishop the opportunity to really rebut it. It gives them about 3 seconds, and then throws dissenters in that are allowed to speak endlessly on the topic. It's simply hype and hyperbole, and I'd like to point out that it says, the history of the church spans hundreds of years. No, indeed, it spans 2 millennia, 2,000 years, and its future is anything but uncertain, as the video would suggest. Since 1965, we've gone from 45.6 million to 65.2 million Catholics in the United States. In 65, the percentage of Catholics in the United States was 24%, and in 2009, we're 22%. This is Gallup poll results, legitimate, credible information that you can rely on, not the nonsense that they were portraying. And the Gallup poll suggests that the current mass attendance is 36%, and they've been keeping polls since 2000, and that's up from 33%, so they're wrong about the drop in mass attendance. And they talked about church closures, but the churches simply move with the population from city to suburbs. In case you people haven't noticed, the large number of populations that built cities like Chicago and Pittsburgh and New York have moved from the cities to the suburbs. And very large dioceses in all of these major cities, indeed every major city in the United States, have closed. There's no question about that, because the populations that built these cities are no longer city dwellers. They're now suburban dwellers. These statistics are also available for anybody who'd like to go look. The church closures, again, follow the people. We've had more church openings than we have church closures because, of course, these populations are spread through thinner communities. But we outnumber the next largest body of Christians, even the combination of Southern and Northern Baptists, by 2 to 1. There are approximately 30 million Baptists in this country, maybe about 32 million Baptists in this country, the highest number, and that's the Northern and Southern Baptist conventions combined, and that includes over 22 sects of Baptist churches. And for those of you who aren't aware, Baptist isn't a generic term that means people who call themselves Baptists. There are evangelicals to fundamentalists and every stream in between. The church has over 41,406 diocesan and religious orders. That's priests in the United States. It also has over 30,000 lay ministers. 80% of those are women. 17,000 men who are ordained as permanent deacons in the United States. Let's see, 63,032 sisters, 5,000 brothers, 16 U.S. cardinals, 424 active and retired U.S. bishops, 5,029 seminarians enrolled here in the United States. Overall, it employs more than 1 million employees, operating a budget nearly of $1 billion here in the United States to run parishes, diocesan primary and secondary schools, nursing homes, retreat centers, diocesan hospitals, and again, one of the largest charitable institutions in the world. There are over 150,000 teachers who operate in the United States, teaching 2.7 million children, students, let's just say in general, in Catholic schools, in over 225, and there are over 225 Catholic higher education learning institutions in the United States. There's no other religious movement in the United States that even comes close to the numbers that we present. So this church in crisis thing, I don't get. There was a talk about dissension, I got to let people know who are watching this video, discussion and debate are common in the Catholic Church, and this may be surprising and at odds with this Protestant puritanical thought that you never raise dissent, you just open a new church on a different street corner. But that's not the way it's done in the church. Theologians, laity, we're all allowed, to dissent. Your puritanical mindset may freak you out about how Catholics do it, but that doesn't change the way we've been doing it for quite some time. And the Pope, by the way, in opposition to what the video states, has never stated that dissension would bring about disciplinary measures on anything other than dogma. We don't debate, for instance, whether or not there can be female priests any longer. The debate is closed. When the Catholic Church closes the debate on dogma and some doctrine, it's closed. I'm sorry. So dissent is a good thing, by the way. It meets even with our traditional American standards. And he mentioned Humanae Vitae as being some sort of document that has disrupted the church. Have any of you Protestants ever bothered to read Humanae Vitae? Look, I understand that the Protestant acceptance of birth control is a common thing. But it wasn't always so. It wasn't until the 1920s when pastors began to move in from the fields to the cities that they began to accept the concept of birth control because, again, Protestant ministers get married, right? And it's difficult to manage a large family. So Protestant ministers themselves became accepting to the idea that they could have smaller families, so they allowed for birth control. But prior to the 1920s, the Protestants, all of you Protestants, were right on board with the Catholics with regards to birth control. Right on board with us. So that's a little disingenuous. And trotting out people at the end who don't offer any real explanation for their positions as to why they left the church is dramatic, I suppose, but not very useful. We have several members of fundamentalist churches, including pastors, that are now avowed Catholics. They brought up the Eucharist and purgatory, and we can debate these all day long, but as I've already suggested, as many come to us as leave Protestant churches for these very same reasons. The fact is that so far most of the video has been a gaggle of aired statistics and hyperbole. They talk about one of the guys, eternal security, or OSAS, once saved, always saved. Well, look, that's debated from Scripture to this day between evangelicals and fundamentalists. Take up the debate in your own churches. Don't bring that one to the Catholic Church, because our church teaches that you can know salvation. It absolutely does. It doesn't teach against free will. That's where we draw the line. Therefore, no one in the church can say, once saved, always saved. That's all we teach. We don't tell people you cannot know that you're saved. That's ridiculous. We simply don't teach once saved, always saved because we follow the doctrine of free will. Many of you Calvinists, won't like that, but it's of no issue to me. So far, video number 1 is a complete wash. And the worst part of video number 1 is its flaming errors in statistics. By 2005, it is estimated that 40% of the Catholic Church... Come on. I mean, who makes such bizarre and ridiculous claims in a video that's clearly, as I said to this young lady or man before, was obviously done in the 1980s, and here we are in the year 2009, and our numbers are perfectly even, from 23 to 22%, from 45 million to 67 million. It's just a gaggle of aired statistics and hyperbole. So video number 1, shot down, not very useful. Thank you.